It's time for Twig This Week in Google, and we are just back from the Google I.O. keynote. Jeff and Gina are here. They were in the room. They've brought me back something really exciting. What could it possibly be? Fresh from Google I.O. next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 255, recorded June 25th, 2014, 93 million selfies. This Week in Google is brought to you by SmartThings, the easiest and most affordable way to create a smart home. Protect and control your home from anywhere with no contracts or monthly fees. For 10% off any home security kit, visit smartthings.com/twit and use the code TWIT10 at checkout. And by Hover.com. Hover's the best way to buy and manage domain names. It's simple, honest, and easy to use. For 10% off your first purchase, go to Hover.com and enter the promo code TWIG6. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, and this is the week for Google. The Google I.O. conference started this morning, and lo and behold, look who's here. Jeff, Jarvis, and Gina Trapani came up over the bridge.
Here we are.
Over the river and through the woods.
And over the bridge.
And over the bridge.
We didn't even talk about the bridge going over
No, it was fine because somebody else drove, and it was foggy.
Oh, did you have a Uber?
We were chatting.
Or you had Walt?
No, we had Walt.
We had
Walt's
Walt,
great.
yeah.
Love Walt.
Yeah.
Right.
Walt will keep you occupied.
Yeah.
So, welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Nice to have you in studio.
So great to be here.
We covered it this morning. Kevin Marks and
Covered it, and covered it, and covered it.
We started at 9, and it went almost 2.5 hours. A very long keynote speech. And so long that I think a lot of the interesting things were buried in a lot of needless detail. But there is some good news for those who went to Google I.O. Cardboard. This is the gift. Wait a minute. We should say you did get a certificate good for either an LG G Watch or a Samsung Gear Live.
Yes.
Yep.
And you're going to get a Moto 360 whenever that comes out.
Right. Later this year. Yeah.
But you're currently nothing. You got
we that's the only thing we walked out with.
Watch, because I can just take this and I'm going to put it together. It's a little kit. If you're really ingenious and smart enough, you just take it and there it is. It turns into. Wait a minute. What the hell is that? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Now you put a phone in there.
So I don't have it started.
Will it work with any smartphone?
Yeah. Any smartphone.
Has to run Android. Did you have to install an Android app?
Nope. There's a Chrome experiment, which is actually not currently loaded up.
But how does it? Oh, so you have to load it on the phone.
Yeah, you have to load the Chrome. Yeah, you load the Chrome experiment on the phone.
So what happens is this is a stereo. You remember this? This is like the ViewMaster, and you press the thing.
Yeah.
But instead of a ViewMaster, you've loaded it with a phone, and then watch. I'm going to put it to my eyes, and then look, I see the stars. The stars are beautiful. Wait a minute, what's that? And if you look at it long enough, you get what's really interesting is, just like the Oculus Rift, this moves with your head.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly.
Take that, Mark Zuckerberg.
It's a cardboard Rift.
How much did he pay for Oculus? $4 billion?
Apparently, this was a 20% time project. One of the Google engineers wanted to see what they could do with cardboard.
If you go to g.co/cardboard, you can see it yourself and even build it yourself if you really wanted to.
Gina, not to pull it on Leo here. Gina spent quite a good while in the car figuring it out, and I had no difficulty at all. She was sticking her tongue out a few times.
And
she
then
got it.
There is an app apparently.
I didn't RTFM at all. I was like, I don't care about directions. I'm sure that I could just stick the tabs where they need to go. And
yes,
there aren't.
Which is what I did.
It's less than IKEA style directions, right?
It's true. There really weren't directions.
Gina made it all, figured it out, and then she finally went to the page. Said, instructions.
Right here. That's usually how it works for
Virtual
me.
reality has made exciting progress over the past several years. This really isn't up yours to mark, is it?
It is.
The result is cardboard, a no-frills enclosure that transforms a phone into a basic VR headset and the accompanying open software toolkit. You know what? This really is a little bit of a takeoff on that thing that the Motorola X does with the hat.
Yeah, the hat.
Which allows you, and it's actually kind of fun, play a game and aim up and down and move around.
I bet if we loaded up the hat and stuck it in the cardboard, it would probably be really cool.
And it uses the accelerator.
I think it's cooler than this.
What's that?
I know.
They didn't mention that at all.
Not
Although
at
you did
all.
get an upgrade to 2 gigabytes, but you have to buy it. 2 gigabytes of RAM and.
As soon as Jeff saw the watch demo, he turned around to me and said, "I'm getting rid of this," pointing to his glass.
2/3 of the functionality, we'll talk about more, but 2/3 of the functionality of this are now gone.
Wow. All right. So there you have it. That was.
That was the big giveaway today.
I think it's going to be a little easier to get into Google I/O next year. I'm just guessing that. But I said this. I said, Google, of course you're going to have trouble with Google I/O. We had to try like the Dickens to get Gina in.
We had to
Yeah,
whine
yeah.
and whine and
really
whine on the
appreciate
show.
that, yeah.
And thank you,
Yes.
folks, for letting us both in. Thank
But
you.
Yeah.
I think part of that was because they gave away last year. They gave away a lot of stuff. The year before, a lot of stuff, and it seems like a good deal to spend. What is it, $900 to get in?
Yeah.
And get more than that worth of goodies.
Right. The Pixel was a $1,500 machine.
Suitable
and-
for sale on eBay.
I bought this one. Let's be clear. I love this one.
You can make money at it. But I think this is not going to sell for much on eBay.
Well, I don't know. Wait. Let's
Well,
look.
so they gave
Let's
cardboard, but then we each get 2 watches. So, I mean,
you
each
get your
attends you.
choice of the Samsung or the LG and then the Moto later. So that's
which
good.
ones should we get?
Did they give any more information about these watches, like what they're going to sell for? We'll find
They're
out.
going to go
didn't.
for sale this afternoon.
They said that they would be on sale in the Play Store this afternoon.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So when they go on sale, I guess we'll then know how much it's going to be. But they didn't say a price, and they didn't even say anything more than Moto 360 available sometime this summer, which was what they
Right.
were saying all along.
Yeah, I'm looking
but
up
we
there.
did see it. It is circular, right? In fact, I think Sundar Pichai was wearing a circular
Here it is.
watch.
Yeah.
The
250, I think, is what we talked about. last night.
$199. The Gear Live will be available for pre-order later today at $199.99.
So the Gear Gear
the
2 is $300. So
LG is $300. It's $229.
okay.
Previously announced.
Okay. Which one are you going to pick?
Which one should I?
Oh, you're asking me? Like
Yeah.
I know?
I don't know what the difference is. I mean, your view, I think, is that Samsung's been making
I actually don't. I liked the Gear 2. I mean, it's limited as though they are. I liked it. The problem is it was a very Samsung-specific device. It may be the case with the. In fact, that's what you should find out. It probably won't work with your Nexus or your HTC.
I mean, I got the impression it's Android Wear, so it talks to Android no matter what.
See, that would be great.
I mean, right?
That's
because
what it ought to be.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the
because
point.
there were some important things today, but and we'll go over them all. But going across platform easily was really one of the main points, and how the coming together of Android and Chrome, and that's how they're going across platforms, so that you can have an Android app on your computer. Your Android app can talk to your watch. Your watch is syncing with your Android app. I mean, it really has gotten fairly impressive going across here.
Well, I made notes as we talked till my my energy gave out and I just collapsed in a puddle. And we can go through this one by one. They did, of course, start as every of these big. This is, by the way, the 4th big company developers keynote we've seen. It started with Build, Microsoft's Build, gosh, months ago. Then WWDC, Facebook's F8 conference. You could throw in the Amazon phone announcement. It wasn't a developer announcement. You could throw that in, and now Google gets kind of the last word with Google I/O. This was the longest, had the least sales pitch stuff in it, and easily the most developer specific stuff. Way more specific than any of the others. But they did begin with a little bit of marketing. They said Android now has 1 billion monthly active users. 1 billion with a B. Easily dwarfing iOS has 800 million, but only of the 800 million, only 600 million are phones. So, but I guess you're including tablets here too. So 1 billion.
Yeah, well, that was one of the great little swipes. Was it doesn't include Amazon, but that wouldn't be very much.
He did mention that.
Yeah.
Amazon is Android.
There were a
but only
few
in the
very
name.
subtle swipes at Amazon, and of course
And Apple too, and Microsoft. They never used it. They didn't want to talk about Microsoft, but a number of the things were targeted at Microsoft. 20 billion text messages a day sent over Android. Ironically, that dwarfs the number of text messages sent over WhatsApp, which is I looked it up, but it was more than, I think it was 23 billion or more a day. So
Wow.
as many text messages are sent over Android, more are sent over WhatsApp. So it doesn't dwarf it. It's the opposite. What's the opposite of dwarfing it? It giants it. 93 million selfies a day. This is not something I would tout.
Yeah. No.
It's an art. It's an art form.
That's got to be a joke, because how do you know it's a selfie?
facial
Maybe it was a
recognition.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Which way the camera is pointed?
Yeah.
How do you know it's a selfie?
also
Possible. No,
yeah,
that's
that
true.
could
That's
be
true.
it.
Camera quality. Yeah. That's
62% of tablets globally. That's a big deal, because the other 38% is iPads.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that, I think that's all. They didn't have to go into Toxic Health Stew or anything like that. They just had to say, well, we got 1 billion monthly active users. What do you got?
Yep.
They did, before they announced the L word, they announced, by the way, that's what's going to be called, the L word. I just thought you'd like to know. You're happy about that? No. The real L word. Before they announced that, Android One, which is a platform, an interesting platform, looks like a turnkey platform for handset makers in the developing world that allows them to quickly and easily make sub-$100
That's
Android
very
phones
impressive.
with Google services.
With guaranteed updates, with all kinds of things.
Yeah, guaranteed updates was interesting.
Security.
wasn't it?
And it's appropriate to the market so that you always want, I don't know why in India you always want double SIMs, but you do.
And radio, FM radio.
And FM
FM
radio,
radio,
which is
yeah.
important in the market, and under $100. I'm surprised they didn't give that away, just to say, look, people, look what you can do, and it's going to explode mobile telephony. I mean, the big thing today was, to me, this is a mobile company. It is mobile, mobile, mobile. By the way,
They even said that. They said, we're going to talk about mobile.
design it in mobile. And by the way, you can also make that quaint thing we used to call a web browser app. If you want.
Right.
Well, you
It'll expand nicely
can
for the
put-
web as well.
Yeah. It was do it for mobile. That was the whole message of the day to me.
And Play supports auto installation of local content. So so you can distribute these phones with local relevant apps that would just get auto updated, which sounded really nice.
They also kind of said, and this was a response to Toxic Health Stew, that 93% of all Android phones do at least have the latest version of Play. And they are going to start distributing security updates via Play and they're doing an end around on the carriers end.
Which I said in Twitter that's their end around fragmentation. But somebody else said, well, but look at what L was bringing. That's why updates do matter, because there's tons of functionality and design that comes to L that's not going to be in a Play update.
They won't come through Play
and this
services,
has always
right.
been a problem. It's not that people don't want the latest version of Android. It's the carriers and manufacturers don't put it on their phones.
Exactly.
And so you have a hard time getting it. And people are not really willing to get a new phone just so they can get the latest version of Android, I think. The latest version will be L. We know that K is Kit Kat.
Yep.
J was Jelly Bean. H, and then on back. They're all desserts. So we know it'll be L, but we don't know which dessert. They haven't announced it. Lychee, licorice,
So Kevin Marks
Lollipop.
had an unusual suggestion we heard.
Laffy Taffy.
Oh, that was
Always one.
Jason last night said Laffy Taffy. I
Taffy.
thought Kevin suggested Lint.
Lint.
Lindt.
Yeah.
I don't
That
think
should
it'll be
also-
Lint.
No.
Be another brand. It doesn't quite fit. That brand doesn't quite fit. Not quite. It's not quite Kit Kat.
Jason's joke was Laffy Taffy. Yeah, maybe it may well be, given that they made a relationship, and I'm sure made some money on Kit Kat making a relationship with Nestle. Maybe they'll do the same thing with Pharrell.
Maybe, and that deal just hasn't closed. And that's why we're just calling it L. It was
Lemonheads.
I found it strange referring to it as L.
They don't have the little doll ready for the yard. I mean,
Yeah, right. The statue hasn't been shipped yet.
Well,
so
this
that's
was
why
one thing they said is we want to let developers look at the new version of Android much earlier from now on. So this really is a release or an announcement of and a release of an SDK well before the version comes out. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of design changes here with the material design stuff, the new themes. This is something that developers want to get ahead of time, to get ahead of before it gets released.
Apple announced 4,000 new APIs with iOS 8. Now they've got 5,000.
5,000 new APIs.
But I thought having to learn 5,000 new APIs, it wasn't a good thing.
I know, it made me feel just kind of tired when I heard that. I was
overwhelming.
like, I had a long to-do list, right?
How do you do that when you, each new API reflects either a change in the way you interact with an existing service or a new service entirely. And do you just wait till you need something and then look it up? Or do you kind of browse it and say, well, let's see what I can do? I mean, this is, you don't learn all 5,000.
Right, no, you don't learn all 5,000. I mean, it really depends. For something like Android Wear, this is a whole new device. This is a whole new category. You want to be ahead of this curve. You want when these watches hit the market for your app to be awesome on it, right? You want your app to be in the demos. So that's something that you go ahead on and try to learn all the Android Wear APIs and make your app do something special and interesting. The rest of the 5,000, look, you have an idea for something you want to build. If it's difficult, you do some research. Does
Right.
this new thing make it easier?
Can I do
And
this?
then you
or-
use it as
yeah.
you need it. Yeah.
So you understand the basic outline of what's capable.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, Tim Dow corrects me on Twitter. That's right. Apple said 800 million devices sold to date, not 800 million active users. So
I've got a few old unused devices. Yeah.
So 1 billion monthly active users is a big deal. That's a big deal. That's Facebook numbers. They did release SDKs for almost all the new stuff,
Yeah.
including the L. What do they call it? The L.
The L release.
Release.
The L preview.
Do you mind if I call it the L word?
Not at all. That was the first thing that came to mind for me.
As the spokesman for the entire
Right, that's
community.
right, exactly.
Can you
As
bless
spokesperson,
this? Yes, that's right.
I
It
give
just
you
is
permission.
what leaps to mind. I'm sorry. They introduced Matias Duarte, who was Chilean, wearing a
The shirt was
houndstooth
unbelievable.
checked coat and a paisley shirt.
It was
the
unbelievable.
coat, which moirayed miserably on camera. He's in charge of the look and feel of it, right?
Ever the show producer.
This is
Ever
Google's
the show
definition of
producer.
design.
He also had I'm just saying the beard looked a little like the guy in Silicon Valley, the
Yeah.
Aviato
Yeah.
guy. I'm not sure this is the guy you want developing, but it does look nice.
It does look nice.
It does.
Paul Thurrott was at great pains to point out that this is kind of what Windows Phone's done. The grid,
Very
the
much
active
so.
tiles,
Yeah.
things when you tap them move. They at first I thought, because he said material design, I thought, what are they going to change the material? They showed a screen and had things up on, but no, they're just the feeling that something's coming up out.
There's an X, Y, and a Z in
Now
terms
there's
of
a
how you
Z.
can,
Yeah, there's a Z, right? So you can have floating, like buttons floating on top and feel distance.
I didn't ask
between
you, but
things.
last night on All About Android, you all predicted what you'd think you were going to see at Google I/O. How close do you think you came?
We did okay. We were on a few things. I didn't think Android TV was going to happen today. We were very pro. I thought that they were going to lead off the show with Android Wear and Fit. Right, like that seemed like the most
what people are
obvious
most
new
interested in,
consumer
right?
things.
Yeah.
And that was sort of more toward the middle.
I
But
feel
Android
like
Auto,
this was an opportunity lost a little bit. I understand this is a developer conference, and we say that before we did Build, before we did WWDC, and before this, we said, look, this is a developer conference. This is messaging for developers, but you do have. And as particularly with Google I/O, all the press was there. We couldn't get anybody to help me on the show because everybody said, no, I got to cover this. I got to be there. This is really an important event, and I feel like that they didn't do a lot of consumer messaging. Where that's a little bit of a missed opportunity.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a tension, right? But this is the thing. They have to lay the groundwork with the developers. They have to get the developers excited, and they have to convince the developers that if they build for this, they're going to make money and they're going to be successful, right? Before the consumer launch. At the
Don't bang
consumer
the
launch,
table. You're
sorry.
making me nervous.
Oh, sorry.
Especially that chopping.
Sorry. So the consumer launch can be, can have the apps and have the support for things that consumers want, and it's tough. It's a tough tension. I mean, I felt there are times when there have been developer conferences where I felt like this was obviously should have just been a press event. Like this is a show for consumers, and that bugs me, right? Because it really
It's
is a
not
developer
that.
conference.
I understand that.
It's
and
definitely
you're a
a developer's
developer.
conference.
Right.
But then don't invite all the press there. Just say,
Right.
listen, this isn't for you. This is geek
Well,
time.
I think Apple showed at WWDC that you can split the difference, that you can
Right.
Yeah.
have a show that's really for developers. And, of course, it's the breakout sessions that come later that are really for developers. You could have
Right.
left a lot of that, especially towards the end,
Yes.
in breakout sessions and not – you would have
Yeah.
shortened the keynote and you wouldn't have diluted this message. As it is, we have to dig for nuggets in this pile of stuff that
Yeah, and it's a big
Google's
pile.
given. Here's
the thing: there was a lot of good material.
There
I just
really
don't think that they
is.
structured it well enough. I feel like
I don't
if
think they
cut off that
demonstrate
last hour.
I think your point is right, Leo. That they could have demonstrated it more to real people, right? When they showed how the watch can do this or that. Oh, you can write an app to call for pizza, right? That speaks
was
to people.
cool.
he
That
ordered
speaks
a
to
pizza
people.
from his wrist. Like
Yeah,
that was
that's
cool.
cool.
We get that. So they didn't make it real enough because they had so much material to get through.
they buried the lead.
They did.
Well,
What
okay.
was the lead? What was
I
the
don't
lead?
know. Our
Oh,
job
okay.
is, I'll tell you in a moment, our job is to dig and find the pony in that pile of information that Google has given us. And we will find the pony in just a little bit. Jeff Jarvis, nice to have you in studio. Gina
Always wonderful.
Trapani, I'm
Great
so
to be here.
happy. I think Mike Elgin and Jason Howell are on their way back They may have stuck around a little longer than you did, but if they do show up, we'll get them on the panel as well. God, I really thought they were going to say, and we're creating with Nest a hub for your home and your automation, and we're going to base it on Android Home, and none of that.
Right.
But that's good news for smart things. If you want to automate your home, we've been looking for ages for a way to do this, simply to find a hub that will talk. You know, at home I've got the Hue lights, I've got the Sonos. I want to get the Schlage door that unlocks automatically. I want my curtains to open automatically when the sun comes up and close when the sun goes down, all of those things. And Smart Things has actually put together a hub that is very, very cool. I want to show you. This is the Smart Things hub. And it is, I want to say this was a Kickstarter project. I'm trying to remember where this started.
It was, and I actually backed it.
Did you?
Yeah,
wow.
and I got the kit, and I love it. I can tell you about
cool.
it. You tell us about it, and then I'll tell you.
I'll tell you what they told me to tell you, and then you could tell me what you want to tell me. tell me. So the hub is the thing that communicates with everything else, and it does work across a lot of different platforms. GE, Schlage, I have a list here. Honeywell, Eon. Nest works, absolutely.
Wow.
Philips Hue works. The Wemo, which is Belkin's really cool little sensors. Now, you can get a kit, and that's probably what you got.
Yep.
The basic kit, the Smart Home Security Kit, $329. You're going to get the hub. You get a Smart Sense motion sensor, so you could put this in the hallway to know when when you get home. Lots of different things you could do with a motion sensor. Obviously, put it in the garage or outside to turn on the lights. The Smart Sense presence sensor, which is kind of a neat thing. You could put it on a keychain to let you know when the keys have left the house, or on your dog or your cat to let you know when the cat has run away. It'll tell you when people or cars arrive and leave your home. It can help you where you found your left your keys. This is really cool. You get one of those as well. You also get the multi, which is really the most amazing thing. It looks a lot like those sensors that you've seen on alarm systems that go on windows, and you can certainly use it that way. It's a two-piece thing, so when you open the window, the connection is broken. But this does more than that. It's got sensors in here that tell you the temperature. It's got an accelerometer. It can alert you if you've left the garage door open. It can do all sorts of things. So you get this whole kit with this basic Smart Things kit. That'll turn your home into a smart home within minutes, because it's very easy to pair. You just pull the tab out of the device. It all pairs up very automatically.
No wires to run.
No wires to run. It all plugs in. It's all wireless. And there is a growing community, over 5,000 developers now, who are creating new ways to use Smart Things. The Smarter Home Security Kit adds an additional motion sensor, a smart power outlet, a siren and strobe alarm. And then the Smartest Kit for $5.99, it gives you all of the stuff I mentioned, plus additional presence sensor. You get a power outlet. That's nice. You can put a light on there that turns on when you get home, and an outdoor light plug and control power outlet. So that's really nice. So pick your kit, and then use the offer code TWIT10 at checkout, and you'll get free shipping within the U.S. and 10% off the purchase of any home security kit. So, yeah, I remember when this was a Kickstarter project, and it was really designed to make this whole process a lot easier. So you backed it. What was it that got you excited about it?
I backed the project. I hadn't done a whole lot of playing around with home automation stuff, but it was a friend of a friend, and the video got me, and so I backed the project. This is September of 2012. This is a couple of years ago now. And I got the kit.
Long?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just loved it. It was such a great product. That the app was beautiful. The things are awesome.
They raised a lot of money, $1.2 million.
They raised $1.2 million. So
you see how far the hub has come. That was the original hub.
Yeah.
And look how nice and sleek it is.
It's nice and small now. Yeah, this is definitely a more polished product.
Yep.
But I had it set up so that my lights came on when the sun went down at night, which was nice. I had the motion detector hooked up to my mailbox, so I got a push notification on my phone when the mail came, which is really fun.
Works with Android or iPhone, right?
Yeah, Android or iPhone, and I put the little presence detector on my daughter's stroller, because I just like to know when she went in and out for a walk during the day. So I'd be at work and say, they got home. They left because I don't have a cat, and also the motion detector. We had it on our safe. If you have like a gun box or something, if it moves, you get a push notification.
Right.
And so it was really fun and really easy to set up, and I enjoyed it.
Gun box?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It seemed like no, I don't. But
it's Brooklyn, man.
It is Brooklyn. Things are tough in Brooklyn.
You need weapons.
No, not in the house of my daughter, but just as an example, we put it on our safe, but not. We don't have a gun box. But if you did.
So
and you had a child.
Well, now they're out in the public, in the world. Thanks to people like Gina who helped support the project originally. And really, this is a refined, beautiful project that works so well. I'm not going to show you my welcome code.
Yeah, don't, because then you'll get taken over. You'll need another one. No, it's a great product. I really love it. I was excited to see that they're a sponsor.
I have my set at home. I'm really excited about the whole idea. I want to get into home automation. That's why I was a little disappointed that Google didn't say word one about this. I feel like, it's going to be Google or Apple. Somebody's going to step up. Maybe it's Smart Things is going to step up and just say, all right, forget it.
What I like about this is everybody make your own stuff, and now we can start working across multiple platforms, get some standards and APIs.
Right now you've got these silos. Yeah. It's not working. You can't. It just doesn't work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're digging. There's a pony in here somewhere. What do you think of the new? As Matthias started showing the grids and the new design, I thought of you immediately. In fact, for most of this, I thought of Gina Trapani immediately because I figured you're going to be our expert on this. How different is this? I do know that one of the complaints I hear people like Andy and Notco for years, I tried to get him to use an Android phone. He said, no, it's just not as elegant. Things don't line up. It just feels, and for years, Android did feel that way. Just a little ill-designed, a little clunky. These new tools are obviously designed to address that.
Definitely.
Does this give the L release a parity with the beautifully designed iPhone, you think?
I think so. I was very impressed with the material design stuff, and I'm very excited about my app. Even my app, which is just a simple list app, and most apps are, right, where you're just scrolling down a list. It's going to make just the spacing and the nice natural scroll action, having that hover button. I thought I really liked a lot, having the sticky headers that like just naturally sort of contract as you scroll up. It looked really beautiful to me, and I'm excited about it. I think that the complaint that Android is just not as pretty or not pretty enough or not as aesthetically pleasing, I think that's a done deal.
It was kind of a done deal. And Matthias started at Honeycomb and has slowly, gradually moved this to a much better looking platform.
Yes, he has.
I think it's been a done deal since KitKat for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when they showed the side by side of Gmail, the current Gmail with the new Gmail using the material design, I mean, it really felt like a breath of fresh air. Yeah. The new screen. I was like,
it's stuff they could have done before. It's aesthetics, but now the Paisley helps.
Okay, I'm not gonna mock him, but he did have some odd stuff to wear. Anyway,
well then
he's a hipster.
What was the guy with the black? You couldn't see it because the black T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
it was an
David,
oddly.
He was a director of Android engineering.
Singleton?
Yeah.
It was an odd shirt too. It was odd. They all got the odd shirt memo. They got the wear the watch memo and the odd shirt memo.
They all were wearing smartwatches whose screens were blanked, so we couldn't really tell what they were using. But it was obvious. Because especially the two women who presented, because as always with smartwatches with a smaller wrist, these things really look clunky.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were able to dress them up to the point where they didn't look a little clunky.
I was just looking at the LGG site, and they try to make them look glamorous. If you go,
and they did that at the keynote a little bit. There was that shot of somebody leaning up against a pool table, being all hipster and stylish, wearing the watch. The one thing that I did like about the watch is that it's black until you hold it up. And then it goes full color.
The Gear 2 does that as well.
It's always on.
The Gear 2 does that.
Yeah, well, because you don't want to leave the screen on all the time because it'll kill the battery. So when you move it, when you raise it, it turns on.
Right.
Pebble does that.
See, here they're trying to make it look glamorous.
Oh, yeah. So what is that
just search for LGG. Let me see what it is.
Because you'll see immediately what...
you'll see the site.
If you're watching the video, what...
And they have videos of this, too, so we'll see how they're marking it.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. This is what Jeff is talking about. First, there was the sun. Then, this is the phone.
No,
LGG
watch. Search for LGG watch.
Oh, man. LGG watch.
So they lead with her style. They lead with...
yeah, they do. That's the interesting thing.
Powered by Android Wear.
There we go. So, yeah.
Hi. And I've got big rings, so my watch has to be big, too.
You don't know it, but I'm a champion arm wrestler.
That does not look good. That really does not look good.
No. Now it looks more awkward on him there than it does on her.
Nerds. Okay. Double nerd.
That's big.
This is the problem with these things. They have to be big because they have to have a big battery, and of course the screen has to be usable.
This is an opportunity for a larger wristed model, I think.
It works well with the Merce, I think, don't you?
It's not a Merce. It's a European carry-all. Nice Volkswagen. Love that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to the 360 for style.
The round one is going to be
style
Round one's gonna be
reasons.
It'll look good on the screen. There's some videos at the
I'll
end
wear
of this,
this.
at the end of this presentation.
Let's finish up with the L word, and then we'll get to watches, because that's a big thing too. But I want to make sure we get all. So palette is, there's material designer, there's palette. That's the library that you're going to use.
Polymer, right?
Polymer. What's
Right.
palette? There's another thing
Palette
called
was something they announced last year.
And
I think, right?
Polymer. But one thing about that library is it's cross-platform. So it's not just for Android. I can use it with my web design.
Right. Yep.
So the UI can now look kind of
Well,
unified.
this to me was really crucial. And you know, in my field, we're starting to think about, we got to think about digital, about mobile. What's really happening there at Google is that they're designing to mobile first. And then, by the way, you can then adapt that to the web. You can put things on the web. I think that's really, really, really critical. They're proud of the web browser. They're proud of the browser. But when they talked about Chrome, they talked about mobile Chrome.
Right.
They talked about integrating mobile Chrome. When they talked about Chrome, otherwise, they talked about the Chromebook. They weren't talking about the web.
No, and in
Apart from
fact,
that at all.
it was pretty apparent throughout all of this keynote that the hub for all of this is the phone. And then you have the phone, you have TVs, you have laptops, you have tablets. But the phone is now, we used to think of the PC as the hub. The phone is the hub.
And I think when that
definitely.
changes, what the crucial phrase to me in the entire morning was, a computer is now small enough to wear on your body all day.
Yeah.
So they're looking at this as a computer. This is your computer for now, and it connects to this. I think in the long run, this will be your primary computer, and there'll be integrated display devices separately from that.
Right.
And this is your authentication. This is your communication. This is everything. You might need a bigger antenna. Fine, you have this nearby. You might need a bigger display. You have this nearby. But your computer and your identity is going to be in this eventually, I think.
Yep.
So Polymer is this cross-platform library. It's not the first time they've talked about it. They actually did talk about it last year.
Yes.
Yep.
Web components usher in a new era of web development based on encapsulated, interoperable custom elements that extend HTML. It's
Blah blah blah. But yeah. This is basically a kit for you to build your apps across across
Kit.
all
That's a good way to
platforms.
describe it,
And this is basically, I think we've talked about Bootstrap from Twitter. This is similar to Bootstrap, but it sounds like this is even more so.
and you develop, okay.
You get a bunch of UI elements for free. So on
That's
on the
nice.
Polymer page, it's polymerproject.org. You'll see even there's buttons when you hover over them. They have certain effects.
They actually
have the
do
material design effects.
The thing.
So you'll be able to implement those things in your app very easily.
Well, the more they do of that, the more dumber people can make it.
Right. Then you can
shorter
concentrate on
time.
your content in your app versus having to style your buttons,
Right.
basically. So you get a lot of things for free as a developer.
This is kinda
It's interesting that they've got this code here on GitHub and not Google Code. Also a
good
play
point.
for they know that's where they're going to where the developers are rather than asking developers to come to them. And I'm excited about this. I'm definitely going to play around with this.
Look at this playground. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's a BSD license. A little WYSIWYG action going on there.
And you can drag it in, and you can change the skin and the content and code. And here's a map. These are all little widgets. Here's a smoothie chart. Here's a speech mic. I like this idea. Put a little mic there that you can click. So all of these things. There's the smoothie chart. There's the mic. This is kind of cool. Yeah. And this is actually web-based, which really shows the power of the browser these days.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so Palette, Polymer, the L release. Oh, Project Volta. This is interesting.
That was interesting, too.
One of the things Apple got a lot of attention for in iOS 8 is finally they're going to break down battery use by app. Google one-upped them on that. Battery use, hell, we're going to show you wake states, wake locks. We're going to give basically we're going to instrument everything, and you're going to be able as a developer to see what everything's doing.
Does that also work to shame developers too? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're the hog.
This is when the protester kind of started.
We didn't really hear it.
This is
You
when
didn't hear that?
the
You fill
battery
us
stuff
in.
kind of got
So the protester, there were two protesters. By the way, I'd like to point out that the gender distribution among protesters was 50% women. So that's nice.
Unlike
They're
the
getting,
attendees.
they're getting some
audience,
diversity
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
protesting.
Yeah, better
at
percentages
least.
than Google got in attendees, right? It was
Yeah,
50-50 versus 28.
28% women attendees, but 50% protesters.
50% protesters.
So there's that. The protester, one of the protesters, the second protesters was saying you are all working for a company that
makes robots that kill
makes
people.
robots that kill people. Does Google have robots that kill people? Should I be worried? Actually, they bought that Boston company that makes the killer robots.
Are they killer robots? Do they make them?
They don't make drones. And then I guess the first one was protesting housing.
One of Google's lawyers.
Leo, robots don't kill people. Algorithms kill people.
Anyway, not a surprise. In fact, we'd heard that, and I don't know if you saw this, that some of the protesters would be dressed as stormtroopers outside of Moscone Center. Did you see some?
I did see it.
This town is just getting ridiculous.
Not this town. This is Petaluma.
Petaluma's
that
fine.
town.
That town is getting ridiculous.
Someone on Twitter said that how should we trust Google with our data if they can't even keep somebody out of the keynote?
Well, that
Like,
is a good.
It was interesting. Security. No
Security
one
did
moved.
not react.
I mean, the protester.
They had a
was
security
talking.
person standing in every single row, and they didn't twitch
No
a
one
muscle
moved.
when this happened.
The
so
blue shirts.
finally,
Were
Yeah.
they just stunned?
the white shirts were not authorized to do this. The blue shirts came in finally. They talked to each other. They didn't know what to do. Just do what you
Escort the
do.
person-
You're
yeah.
security.
Well, they did in fact escort them gently out. I'm told they did not
Yes.
tackle them. They did not.
no, there
they
was no
didn't-
there was no
they
drama
didn't
or
tase
tackling.
them.
They escorted them out. Well, at first you thought, oh, is this part of the like is this part of
Yeah,
the
because
presentation?
the
That's what I
fact that
thought.
nobody moved, nobody did anything.
paralyzed
Google's
geek.
famous for its police department, right? That they have this whole division that's security and police. And when they come to your house, well, when Kevin Rose's protesters were out, he said, "Well, no, I just called the Google police, and they
Called
handled
the
it."
Google police.
And I went, "Oh,
The Google police were asleep today. At the,
that
at the-
sounds
at the-
scary."
at
But
the
I'm glad to
keynote.
hear they're not. All right, let's talk about Google Wear because that was Android Wear. That was the next topic. They did demonstrate the LG G Watch, which looked pretty cool.
It did.
I don't want square. I'm with you. I want round. I don't care if it's big round.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Flava Flav round.
If they ever make it small square, will that work?
No.
It's not just so it's the shape, not just the size.
Well,
It-
I'm
it
wearing a
just-
rectangular watch, but I
You
feel like it
actually
should.
are, yeah. But it just looks too much like the Casio watch.
this is
The
what a
bezel's
watch is
big,
supposed
and
to
it just
be.
doesn't feel style. It doesn't feel. It feels like a computer on your wrist, right? I don't
And
want
it's
it to be
still
a
the
computer on your
design.
wrist. I
The
want it to be a
design
watch.
worked. The demonstration, it looked okay.
It did. It was very much what we'd seen already in the videos that they showed at the last mention of Android. Where was that we saw that? I can't remember. But they have basically Google Now cards. In fact, that is another takeaway, the cardification of everything. Those cards are now on Chrome, the browser. When you look at recents on Chrome, it's cards. This
And
is
very much a part of material design, right?
That's
That
the
those cards
design.
should act like cardstock,
Yeah.
float and shuffle and move.
And one
expand.
interesting thing about this too, which I think was hidden and important, is they're prioritizing the cards. They're prioritizing your notifications, all your notifications, so that they're recognizing what's most important. And I've talked on the show in the past, among our more boring moments, Marissa Meyer talking years ago about the notion of a hyper-personal news stream.
Oh, yeah.
That Google will prioritize what you do. And actually, I think we saw the start of that today.
in terms of which cards show up and when.
Yes, and knowing that this is a reason to interrupt you.
Yeah, the watch will know where you are. It'll know if you're late for your flight. It'll know that you walked into the airport. It'll show your QR code. This is something the phone's done all along, but
Right.
it's a little more useful. The phone is in my pocket. I don't see it doing that. The watch, I'm
Right.
much
Well,
more
the
likely
number,
to-
I forget, was 125 times a day we check our phones.
Yeah, that was the
Yes.
number they gave.
And so now if it's always
About
on and
8
always
times
there.
an hour if you're up all day.
Yeah, which is I was teasing Ron last night. He installed an app that monitors his cell phone addiction, and it had tracked that he had unlocked his phone 110 times in 24 hours. And I looked at him and said, "I'm judging you. That's a lot." And then I heard that
Apparently
number
it's
today, and so
low.
apparently it's low.
It's low.
One thing that we forgot about L is some of the notification changes. Not
Yes.
to rewind, but your notifications now will be in your lock screen in L, which is really nice. You don't have
And
to pull down
looking
the
like
shade.
a card.
Looking
you could
looking
swipe them
card-like. You
away.
can swipe them away. Yep. And L will run exclusively on Art as well, so it'll be a lot faster. Instead of Dalvik.
we didn't mention
Yeah,
Art.
we didn't.
So Dalvik, which is the just-in-time Java compiler runtime, I should say, that is used currently on Android. We saw Art when KitKat first came out. You could
Right.
turn on your developer preferences and go in there and switch to Art. It had to recompile all the apps, so it was a fairly long switch over.
Right.
Didn't work. You said you had problems with one app, I remember.
Ron actually switched over to
Ron
Art
did.
and crashed his whole machine. And it's because WhatsApp actually
WhatsApp.
wasn't compatible with Art, which I'm sure it is now. But L is exclusively on Art, which just means it's a lot faster, a lot smoother, and developers don't have to change anything in their apps to get that speed increase. They said 2 times speed increase over Dalvik. Better garbage
I didn't
collector.
notice that with the pre-release Art. I didn't
Right.
notice any
You didn't
increase at
read-
all.
Yeah.
But
right.
And I have been using Art.
Right, because you switched over, and
I did.
you've
Didn't
you've
break
been
anything.
there since.
Yeah.
You've been artified ever since.
Artified ever since. Once you
Artified
go
ever
art,
since.
you don't ever go back.
And that's 64-bit compatibility, which just means a lot increased memory space. You just get a lot more memory and speed for free.
Dalvik is a just-in-time compiler, which means it doesn't. So the way all of these work is that the code sits there, but right before it's used, it's turned into machine code that the or maybe just the Java. No, I guess the machine. I don't know. Turn into something that the machine could run. Art is an ahead-of-time compiler.
Right.
So presumably goes through the apps and kind of pre-compiles the apps.
Right. Because when you compile a Java app, you actually get bytecode versus machine language. That's why you have a Java runtime that then translates it into machine code. And so, Art is just doing that faster.
So it
sooner.
takes the non-machine specific DEX code and turns it into machine specific code that can be run instantly.
Right, on your device.
Presumably things would go faster when that happens.
Anyway, I didn't mean to take us out of Android
Art has
Wear.
better garbage collection too.
Better garbage collection. I'm all about better garbage collectors.
About that.
I know everybody's on the edge of their seat, hoping that they were going to get better garbage collectors today, and we did. We got them.
Well, it not only is a garbage collector, but apparently it's going to be a garbage compactor.
There you go.
And I always wanted one of those.
I like my garbage compacted.
There will be garbage compaction. I'm reading it. I'm not making this stuff up. Anyway, Art is going to be on L.
Compost code.
Yeah.
Compost code.
It's recycling, not throwing out your bad memory pointers. All right.
So sorry. So
No,
let's go
I
back
want to
to
make sure we
Android
get
Wear.
everything in the
Yeah.
release in there. So we okay.
Yeah, so
Android
let's
Wear.
go back
Let's
to
talk about
Android
Wear.
Wear, yeah.
All right. There is an SDK available today. That's a pre-release, or is that the final SDK? I think it's
It's
pre-release.
the final.
Man, they're close because we're already
They're
seeing
close,
two
right?
watches.
Because we got 2 watches.
All
Yep.
right, so maybe it
Yep.
is final.
So what did they show? They showed step-by-step instructions for all the cooks. So if you're cooking and you got your watch on, you can swipe through and look at the stuff that you're working on, which is nice. I've definitely splashed some tomato sauce on my iPad and had my phone lock when my hands were wet while I was cooking. Order a pizza from E24 right from your watch. That was
Coincidentally,
pretty cool.
you can order the pizza and spill the tomato sauce.
Maybe the pizza cook uses it.
They had Hey Google, order me a car.
Right.
Lyft just knows where you are.
Remind me of Wake Me Up Tomorrow. A lot of voice.
Yeah.
The again back to the cards being prioritized, so you can watch. I mean, the key to me is that this is now completely obsoleted, because I've always said
He's pointing to his Google Glass.
Sorry, my Google Glass.
Yeah.
This has 3 functions, right? The Google Glass. The one thing that's not obsoleted so far is the being able to take a picture of what you see when you see it and share it. The 2 things that are obsoleted are alerts and instructions. And the watch takes that over and does a better job of it, right? I can just get a glance of whatever alerts I have. I do not want the alerts coming in here. I've learned that. It doesn't prioritize well enough. It can't figure it out. It's worthless. And in terms of instructions, I'm either going to use, if I'm in the car and I'm driving, I'm going to use my actual phone as my GPS. If I'm walking, this is kind of dumb, and I'm going to walk into a post. Turn left, Jeff, on the watch works well. So
The big use case you're missing, though, going from the glass to the watch is video, hands-free video and taking pictures, right?
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the thing that stays with this.
Right.
To
Not
me,
not necessarily. The Google Gear, the Samsung Gear 2 has a camera.
Yeah, but that's-
you could say take a picture. It's actually a pretty good camera. I'll show
But
you
it's
one.
pretty ridiculous.
It's no more
like-
ridiculous than using your glass.
Well, but no, this is the point. That Gina
But it's
you
not-
have
it's
says
not
some
hands-free.
nerve saying it's ridiculous.
When Gina is looking at Etta
Yeah,
doing
like,
something.
yeah.
Hey, Etta, do that again.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Hey, Etta, here's mommy.
It's not quite the
right.
hands-free,
So-
but
Well, here's
I think
where
the
this goes.
GoPro shows that there's a particular use cases for. I mean, it's
Glass becomes there's a
agree.
camera that'll be here. Number one. Number 2, it will have an indicator on to know when it's on to get rid of all this privacy whining.
Right.
And then number 3, it'll be a hell of a lot smaller and just be able to communicate with your phone.
So I went ziplining with the Gear 2 watch. I had a GoPro, and you're right, for the video and so forth, the GoPro, but just having you can't really carry a camera when you're ziplining because your hands are busy. These are not bad pictures.
Those are
and
not-
In my
certainly
case, my
comparable
hands
to-
would be so sweaty that the
those
camera
are
would
those are
drop.
quite good. Those are much better than I would have expected.
Yeah, I was actually somewhat pleased. I thought they came out quite well. and by the way, there's no reason to say that a Android Wear watch wouldn't have a camera built into it.
That's true.
One of them.
So maybe
you'll
keep the glass so you can take pictures of Etta.
I gotta go visit. Yeah.
You gotta go visit Etta.
But you just don't get that blink to take a picture or just take a video now.
No,
and,
so that's what gets
people into trouble with glass. I want to point out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's really not something you want to. You don't want to do that unless you're on a zip line or your daughter's about to take her first steps. Right? They're kind of special.
It needs to be in a
situations.
certain place.
Yeah.
Not a bar.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, back to the L word. I'm sorry. One more thing. I just noticed somebody tweeted me. The guy who wrote the Google developers blog on Material is Nicholas Jitkoff, Alcor, the guy who did Quicksilver for the Macintosh and disappeared from the Quicksilver.
Is that Google?
We knew
That's
he got
right.
a job at Google, and now we know what he's been working on, which is material design. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I still use and love Quicksilver.
I
It's
do too.
Very well designed.
I do too. And he has a pretty good post about material design, what it means, and how it integrates with Polymer, the toolkit for the web, which basically gives you access to material design in a web browser. So sorry about that.
So back to the wearables. I think another important thing about wearables is context and how the wearable both senses it and creates it. Right? It creates context in the sense that when I'm wearing my watch and I'm holding my phone says I'm okay to be unlocked now. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Right?
I did like that. That's a nice. That's taken from the Moto
very
X,
nice.
which senses Bluetooth pairings and will unlock if you're on a secure Bluetooth.
And I sense there's a whole list of contexts that work both ways. Right, my watch will know where I am. I'm in the airport. I've got to tell you to get on the flight. I'll prioritize that card. Or my watch creates the context of saying Jeff's near here because it's his watch.
This is great, and this is something we've already seen nibbling the edges around. Moto X knows when you're home, knows when you're at work. There's a program we've recommended called Agent, does the same thing on any Android device. It makes sense when you're at the store. Reminders have always popped up saying don't forget to buy milk, but it makes sense to watch. This is a better place to put it, is on your wrist.
Yeah.
So this becomes your authentication in the future, I think, which is important.
That's very interesting.
So that for all these kinds of things, for walking into your house, for getting into your
Unlock the
devices,
door.
for billing things, if you're wearing it, presumptively, you're less likely to lose it. And by the way, if you lose this, if these two things aren't near each other, your phone and watch, then each is going to say, "Uh-oh, I'm lonely. I'm not going to work right now."
The Gear 2 does that as well. It not only notifies you when you leave, but you can search for your phone by pressing a button on your watch, and the phone will beep, or pressing a button on the phone, and the watch will beep. So again, I feel like Samsung is kind of, with its second generation watch, kind of seeing the opportunities, and these are obvious opportunities to anybody who's making these devices. It makes sense that it should be in an API for Android Wear. We still haven't answered the question of which you should get, the Gear.
No, I was
we have
G.
it.
So I'm trying to look up the Samsung. What's it called? The Gear Live.
Gear
Gear Live.
So my take on it was I want the one that's more stylish because maybe I'm just vain, and to me that's the G watch.
Did you look at people's wrists carefully as they were on stage? Because I think every one of those watches was
Sundar was wearing he was wearing the round one. It looked a lot better.
Sundar was actually, they looked big on him. I mean, it looked like a chunky watch on him. I don't mind chunky watches so much. It definitely made me want the Moto the most. But between the G watch and the Gear Live, I like the way the G watch looks a little better. But I also like that Samsung has some experience with watches.
So CNET has a preview up of the Gear Live.
Okay, let me find that, because Samsung doesn't have any information up. This looks a little bit nicer, frankly.
It has a heart rate monitor. The cool thing about this one is the heart rate monitor.
I got to tell you, don't get overexcited, because these heart rate monitors on wristwatches, I have a basis in the Gear 2. Sorry, Best Buy ad before we get to the review. But they don't work well. They don't work when you're moving, for one thing. So they're not really ideal for exercise.
That don't work well for me because I'm stationary most of the time.
Oh, that's good. If you're sitting around, they're the best. So yeah, the Gear 2 does it, and so does the Basis watch, and they're accurate in the right circumstances. Don't get too sweaty. Don't move around too much. They don't work very well then. But I do think these replace the Fitbit and the Fuel Band and all of these simple pedometers.
Yeah.
So here is the Scott Stein, a senior editor, and that is the Samsung Gear Live. Looks I have to say, almost identical, minus the camera and the button, to the Gear 2.
It does.
Read messages, respond by voice. You can do that on the Gear 2.
Big.
They're big, but you want a big screen because you want to be able to read it.
That's true too. What's the recharging situation on these things?
I can tell you on the Gear 2 that you have to dock it, and I think it's going to be the same here. This looks on the back identical. Well,
How do you dock it?
Well, I'll show you. See, look when he shows you the back.
Yeah, you see that.
You see there's contacts here. There's 4 contacts. This is just like the Gear 2. It has a little, it's not too big, little dock that slips onto it, and then that has the USB port.
Just put a USB port in it.
They did say wireless charging, didn't they, for one of them?
It should be wireless.
Yeah,
I don't think you should make a watch with a dock or USB port. I mean, I just think watches should be wireless.
I wear my watch at night so I can see what time it is because I'm blind. If I have to take my watch off every night to charge it.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to.
And if you want to use it as an alarm.
All right, let's look at the...
Well, no, you tell your phone to be the alarm.
Right, the phone has to be alarm, right. I dock my phone right next to my bed.
All right. I think the LG is the one I would get.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get the Moto, right? So
just because okay.
LG at least has a page up. Let's see if we can find out more about the G Watch. Choice of colors in black, Titan, or white gold. You can customize the strap. Boy, that's big. Yeah. I mean, I think from a distance they look identical. 400 milliamp hour battery. It says it'll go all day on a single charge.
This is a Louis G moment here. It's like the fly.
It's a computer on your wrist.
Louis C.K.
And it's going 600 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a toilet. Right. So that's all you need to know.
It really is. It's come on. This is pretty damn
Here
amazing.
You go.
It is. It's pretty amazing.
This will work. The G Watch, and I'm sure this is true of the Samsung, but I can't promise you. But the LG will work with any smartphone running Android 4.3 or better.
By the way, 4.3 is a recent.
Well, 4.4 is the current, right?
Yeah.
No?
Well, 4.4 just came down on yours. Yeah.
Kit Kat's current, but 4.3 Jelly Bean.
Jelly Beans. Okay.
That's not the most recent. Yeah.
No, you're right. I was having a Louis account. Well, it doesn't have wireless charging. It's crap.
What do you mean? I have to plug it in.
To plug it in.
God. If you go to G.
Remember you had to wind them? You had to change the date in them and the little tiny thing there?
I knew somebody who used to have, in fact, I have quite a few of these. These are called automatic watches that wind as you walk.
Yes.
And he had a device because if you didn't walk enough, he'd had a device, you put the watch on, it spins it around in a weird way and winds it up.
Like as if it were your gate? Like
yeah. That's
wow.
lazy.
Wow.
Yes. I think the rationale just is that if you're a collector.
Okay. So here, this is a little recursive. I went to g.co/wearcheck to see if my phone is compatible with Android Wear, and it refers me to g.co/wearcheck. So maybe the page isn't done yet. I don't know. Anyway, this basically combines the features of the Pebble with a fitness band of some kind. Google Now notifications. I think this is...
Do they all have the fitness stuff? They all have the same sensors?
I imagine. I mean, those are easy to implement.
Yeah.
The heart
rate
rate is
more
not
this.
so easy.
Yeah, this is a little star. Heart rate only available on watches with heart rate monitor. So
Really? Interesting.
Interesting.
Wonder what that means. All right. Now, they're also going to... And this is a good... Actually, you know what? This is a good page if you go to Android.com because it really demonstrates what the future of Android is. Powering screens of all sizes.
Yes.
Right. It was Android on every screen. It felt like the thesis
That's
today.
the future. Android Wear on your watch.
And
phones
everywhere
and
in the
tablets.
world.
Android TV. Android Auto. Yeah. So Android is the future. And that makes sense. When Andy Rubin left to go run robots at Google and Sundar Pichai took over, he's the Chrome guy, the Chrome OS guy. All of a sudden, we suspect maybe this means there's going to be some sort of unification, and I think that's what's happened. Yeah. Android everywhere, and that makes sense from Google's point of view. They've got a great product.
They do.
And they want the next billion people, and I think that they have a shot at getting the next billion people online with this.
Especially with the phone that costs less than $100.
Auto, I don't know how much there is to say about Auto. It's a casting thing, which is also what Apple's CarPlay is. The Auto does not have Android built into the Auto anymore that has iOS built into the Auto.
I prefer because I don't want to have to say I don't want to buy this car because literally if a car came only with iOS, I wouldn't buy it.
Well, in 5 years, you don't want to be looking at your car saying, gee, you're still Kit Kat. I wish you were the L word. I say that all the time.
The W word at that point.
W, right. Who knows what dessert will be at by then. The way they demoed it with that cut-down Kia Soul was cable. And I think that makes sense. You cannot get a full screen like this fast enough with Bluetooth. So you're going to have to connect a special cable. So your car will have to have it. They did say that there are a lot of cars in this alliance, a lot of manufacturers.
Surprisingly,
Ford.
no Toyota.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. Did you see Honda? I didn't see Honda either.
If you go scroll on the page, it's there. Yes, Honda's there.
Honda's there. In fact, here's the list.
Wait. Abarth?
Abarth. I love the Abarth. It has a scorpion for the logo, so that's got to be good. Bentley, too, so you've got to be happy about that. Alfa Romeo. Acura, Audi, Chevrolet, Chrysler,
Tesla,
Dodge.
Folks. No Tesla.
Fiat, Ford, Honda, Hyundai, Infiniti, Jeep, Kia, Maserati, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Opel. There's still Opels.
Europe filled with GM and
My
Europe.
first car was an Opel Kadett.
Oh, no. Really? You
yeah.
are a dork.
Ram, Renault, Seat.
Seat.
I'm sorry, Seat. Skoda, Subaru, Suzuki, Volkswagen, and Volvo.
So what's missing from that?
Well, as you said,
Tesla,
Toyota's the big
Toyota.
one. Tesla's not
Honda's
such a big
there.
one.
Tesla's not there.
Yeah, but GM
Lincoln
in the
is
guise of
Ford.
Chevrolet, but not other. Well, I guess there's Chrysler. All right, so GM and Ford, they got the big three U.S. automakers. They've got Volkswagen, Audi. That's good. So these, in other words, big. I don't see Peugeot or Renault. Well, there's Renault. Citroën. I want a deux chevaux with Android Auto. But I think I like the idea. Now, Kevin Marks was unhappy with the screen. He said, why would they waste space at the bottom of the screen for those icons? On a 16:9 screen, they should put them on the left. I think that's pretty standard. I think that's what people expect in a car. And remember, you're listening to the directions, not watching them on the screen. So,
Right.
Well,
Right.
there was a lot more touching than I would have
on the
liked.
music. There was far
Yeah,
more
I
touching.
agree.
That's gonna get a lot of torture out there because now we have the feds wanting to regulate phone GPS. So they're going to come into this too, and they're going to regulate anything you do in a car that.
But
touches
I have to say, I at least on my phones, I'm able to use Google Speech to say, listen to Lana Del Rey, and it will play music. I could say launch Audible, it will launch the Audible app. I think most of what we do can be done by voice.
Yeah.
I think.
until you're in the app. That's
Yeah,
the
once you're in
issue.
the app, you can't navigate it.
That's
you have
the
to,
issue.
Yeah.
But they have written the directions app and
Right.
the messaging apps to
Right.
be able to work. So that'll be a next phase, I think.
And some big app partners, Spotify, Stitcher, Umano, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Songza, Major League Baseball. So they've got app partners.
And in the demo, he did the, okay, Google, what time is the museum open till? And then Google responded, and then he said, well, can you take me there? Navigate to there. And so
Awesome.
you have that conversational Google
Awesome.
search, voice search going on, which I was like, okay, I was impressed by that.
They also showed that on the watch, by the way. So
Yeah.
you could actually use the watch to steer around. Anyway, this makes sense. And this is, I guess, what Google's saying is we're agnostic. You could have Android everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
You can wear it. You can put it on your TV. Let's talk a little bit about the TV. I wasn't exactly sure how this worked.
I'm not either.
I gathered that Sony and Sharp will announce 4K TVs later this year that will have Android TV built in. Right. But more importantly, I got the sense will work with Chromecast.
Yes. Well, but you can cast from anything that's cast compatible. So any tab on your computer or any app on your phone that has the cast button will cast to Android
They
TV.
separated Google Cast from Chromecast. What did that
I could
mean?
even cast my entire Android interface,
Yes.
right?
Yes, you can cast your screen. Right, you can cast your screen.
But that's to Chromecast. There's a separation here between Android TV and Chromecast.
I think Google Cast is the casting technology.
Right, the Google Cast is the technology, right?
Right.
But to say that something's a Google, I think they use the term cast ready apps.
Yeah.
I think just means that you can stream out the media to either Chromecast but also Android TV.
It also looked like they were going to have we're going to encourage a lean back experience for apps. So that if I cast the app to a 10-foot screen 10 feet away, it would have a lean-back interface.
Right.
So right now, the way Chromecast works, the interface is always on the phone, on the tablet, and not on the screen. The screen just gets the content. It looks like I will be able to
Control the screen
control
with
the
the phone.
screen from the phone and have an interface.
Right.
So I could search Netflix on the screen but use the phone. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. It's not clear.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but this is important. They did not make a box. They did not make a round globe. So that means they have a very limited installed pool of 2 manufacturers, both Japanese, not Koreans, by the way, who are the big ones.
Well, you're not
going
to see Samsung because they have their own platform.
Exactly.
Obviously.
So, this is the one that underwhelms me most.
Well, Google struggled in TV. You know, they did the Google TV, which was arguably a flop, even though LG adopted it, a Korean company.
But now they've got to do the same thing. Now they have to have the manufacturers. And so if I want it tomorrow across all my TVs in my house, and I have many.
I don't think that's the
can't do
play.
it.
I think that's a possible one, but I think Chromecast is the play. And if they can use Chromecast...
But all that
in conjunction-
functionality, Leo, I'm not so sure. All that functionality they showed you, I don't think came with Chromecast. All that lean back and control the TV and do all this search and all
the
that.
search interface and the
Is that Chromecast?
No,
that's not.
No, that's not.
I
That's the
felt
point.
like that was unclear.
No.
You might
But
be
you were
right.
sitting in the room and you
it
could-
was unclear. No, you're right. They kind of breezed over.
Chromecast was a whole separate thing. This was for a Google TV, an Android TV rather.
Yeah, that
That was my question mark. I didn't understand
I could be
exactly
wrong,
what did what.
But I think that's the case.
So they hope, obviously, to get manufacturers to adopt this, build it into set-top boxes,
Right.
build it into TVs.
But that's a big get. And now, once you're there, the interface was fascinating, too, because it really brought search. And I don't want to necessarily look for just, give me the Academy Award-winning movies in 2012. I could care less. But the fact that I can browse through choices rather than through schedules, that I can ask for a show and get a show,
Right.
that's a search motif brought to entertainment. That's important, but not if you don't have an installed base, it's not.
Right.
Well, and furthermore, when he did the search, he searched for Breaking Bad, which I know is available on Netflix, Amazon, and it only showed Google Play Store.
Right.
I do hope that search will be cross-provider.
Well, I mean, I hope
Amazon
it'll work.
Fires is not, by the way. The Fire TV, when you do a search, it shows it on Amazon and not anywhere else. And that's really what we want, isn't it, as a cross-content
I think they said
search.
there it would show anything you have installed.
Okay, that would be good.
So if you had Netflix installed and it was available there, I think they said. Does that sound familiar?
Would Netflix have to expose that to them? Like that?
Yes.
It's possible that Netflix would have to expose their
I would
content.
expect it.
Right?
How would you search it
Right?
otherwise,
How would
right?
you search it otherwise? Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm confusing a couple of different things, right? Because there was search.
TiVo does that. So when I search on my TiVo, it does it across Hulu Plus, Amazon, Netflix.
Yeah.
And it will show, and my Xfinity On Demand, as a matter of fact, and it will show where those shows live on all of those platforms.
It seems like that's the only reasonable answer.
That's what you
search
want.
across. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the developers page, designing for TV, smart TVs powered by Android. Okay, so that tells you that is something you're going to build in. Bring your favorite Android apps to the best screen in your house. Thousands of apps are already optimized for TVs. This is how Google TV worked. You'd install an app that was for Google TV on the TV. And then for developers, how to optimize your layouts for a TV screen. I did love it that when he was showing the Android device, it showed it in portrait mode. And then he turned the phone to show dark sky or whatever, and it went to widescreen. It went to landscape.
Yeah, that was
That's
nice.
what it should do, and that's nice.
Yeah, so the SDK provides fragments, which is Android speak, developer speak for the UI elements that make your app sort of TV compatible. So it sounds like this preview SDK lets you provide layouts for the TV if someone puts your app on the TV, and also expose your content to the search results as well. So if you've got
So you can
media
do
in your
that
app,
in the API.
So help users find your content quickly with in-app searching.
Great.
So in-app searching.
That's
Yep.
nice.
He
was using a game controller on the TV. That's also built into Android TV as a support for game controllers. That's nice.
In Twitter, Ben Swan says that Asus and Razer are making Android TV set-top boxes.
Yeah, he did mention Razer. Asus is something new. So the API comes out or the SDK comes out tomorrow. If you want to start developing for TV, and I would hope we'll get some clarification maybe.
At this point, developers have to feel sort of burned by the original Google TV, the Q. The Q we never really had a chance to develop for.
Right.
Chromecast has been a success, and that's but it's been a slow. Apps have been adding Chromecast support slowly. This is
I'd
the
love
kind of
to
thing
see
that,
this capability through the Chromecast, because that would basically enable any TV to do it. It's a better way to do it. I don't
Right,
want
like if all this functionality was built into existing
Right.
Chromecast devices, and no, it's true. It's true. I'd love to see that too.
Sarah Perez writing at TechCrunch says that this will update the Chromecast will introduce an AirPlay-like Android mirroring feature photo backdrops. I liked those.
Yeah, that was really
You
nice.
can have your weather now. You can have a variety of photos.
Right, so this is Chromecast specific
Right.
update. The nice thing about the marriage between Android TV and Chromecast, and they made this point, like as Chromecast gets better, as casting gets better, as they get better at memory and speeding it up, that will also improve Android TV, which is nice. The Chromecast updates were awesome. So you can put your own pictures as the backdrop is really nice. So you can mirror your screen, which is also really cool.
The fact that you don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, Google's going to mediate that, which is kind of cool.
That's very cool. And my dream right off the bat is every hotel room in America in the world should have a Chromecast.
Right, so you walk in the room and you just send whatever's on your, and I don't have to be on the
that
hotel network
solves
at all.
that. You know, that was one of the reasons you didn't bring your Chromecast
You couldn't do it
around.
because the
Right, because
Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi would be all.
But you don't need to
funky.
anymore.
Right.
Bring
Exactly.
your
Bingo.
Chromecast with you. If you can plug in at any HDMI port, you can now use
But
it.
Google would be very smart to do a deal with a hotel chain
They don't
Yeah.
need to.
because Chromecast is so big.
Bring your Chromecast.
Oh,
Right.
Jeff is saying that every TV should have it
Should
plugged
have
in.
it.
Have
Should,
it
but
already.
you don't have
yeah,
to.
You don't have to just bring your
Pocket. I
Chromecast.
mean, it's
it's like
you
you
can
throw it
throw
in your
that
bag.
$35.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Bring a Chromecast.
what does this remind you of? This immediately made me think about the Nexus Q. This felt like echoes of the Q.
Right.
Remember that feature with Q where if your friends came over and they
Right.
had their Android devices, they also
Right.
could send their playlist to the Q.
Right.
It's this idea of like social flinging, I guess
Right.
you call
Social
it.
flinging.
Social flinging
It's what
of your
monkeys
media.
do.
Right, yeah, social digital flinging.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, right, okay, the Q kind of lives on a little bit in
Well, that was a really good point you made in Twitter, Gina, that you see the antecedents, the opposite, the descendants of the dead beasts
Yes,
come
yes.
back alive in the best ideas. And they really do use them. Things from Wave, things from Q.
Yeah, Drive has so many wave things, right? You see the social thing from Q. You saw so many of the things that failed in Buzz have showed up in Google Plus. Although I admit that Google Plus hasn't been the most successful, or it certainly didn't have the
We'll get to
spotlight
that
today.
in a minute, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Google's failures are public, but they obviously inform the next generation.
Yep.
I saw a lot of folks kind of snarking on Twitter. It was like, oh, well, what about this? What about Glass? And what about Google Plus? And everything they talked about last year doesn't exist this year. And I think that sort of the ghosts of the the stuff that didn't work, I think, really informed the new work. And I like that. It's just it's messy. It's evolution versus the big reveal of the perfectly polished product.
But this is how the real world works.
Yes.
And you're going to get a better product if you try it in a variety of ways. And at least Google continues to try it. And
It's a startup world. Startups fail.
Right.
Things
Right.
fail. It's a company of many startups.
And they're not embarrassed to say, hey, we're never going to sell the Q.
And I think it's all forgiven when you have cardboard.
I love cardboard. Do you think this is a little bit of a knock on the Oculus Rift? The fact that, hey, we're going to give you some cardboard. You put your phone in here, and it does exactly the same thing, only better.
Not only that, it's also a knock on Amazon because who needs 3D on your phone?
They're right. There is a little bit of
both.
It contains magnets. Be careful.
Why
It
are
does.
magnets
Watch
there?
out. Yeah.
There's a magnet over
We're
here.
not clear on why that magnet is there. I don't know. It must anchor the
Tells the
phone.
phone
Tells the
something,
phone
you
where
think?
it's at. Yeah.
Must. A rubber band, the magnet, and some glue
Velcro.
and
There's
some
some
Velcro,
It's the
and
strangest
lenses.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you
It's
stick
so
your phone
weird.
in. Yep.
So weird. Well, I'm glad to have one, actually. Thank you for bringing it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And we
all
should
yours.
check eBay because I'm wondering if
I
these
checked
are,
a minute.
Did you
beginning
check?
Beginning of the show. Let's just see if it's there.
just
It's
what are you
got to.
searching for? Cardboard?
Yeah. Google Cardboard, right? No?
I was chatting with a Googler a little bit last night and was saying that there's still these two product lines, the Chrome line and the Android line, that still exists, and I think that it couldn't be a source of confusion, if not for consumers and certainly for developers. You have the two open source platforms that still seem to be hooked into one another but solving the same problems and what's going on. And he said, I think the idea was that like one of them would really succeed and the other wouldn't, but it turned out that they both really succeeded. So we're keeping them around, and we know it's a potential source of confusion, but they're both doing so well and solving problems. And so now I think today what we saw, I think another takeaway from today was this marriage between I think Chrome and Android are starting to come
really
together.
I mean,
We saw
Android is not a
apps-
browser.
Yeah.
Chrome is a browser, but now what the other we didn't talk about before, the fact that in your recents on the phone,
Yes.
it mixes in web pages and applications.
Yeah, a tab is considered a singular activity.
And in search, you can go in and one of the results in the search can be an app that you happen to have. So apps are Android, Chrome is the web,
pages,
and they are
pages
now
are
starting to
apps.
mix in. So this whole idea that in my world of media is, well, you're either the web's dead and we're all going to have apps. Oops, nobody downloads and runs the apps. We're all the web. In Google, they're mixed in.
What did you think of and did you understand the Chromebook integration with Android? Tell me, I don't even
You
understand.
laughed when I sat down on my Chromebook.
That was nutty. So we were exhausted
I
at that
don't
point. It was pretty late. Because they were running Android apps. You were really keyed into this.
Yes, I
Jeff
was.
was like so excited next to me. I could feel his excitement. So
This
they were
could
running
be
Android apps.
huge.
Yeah.
It
if
is.
I understand it.
So
but I
they're
don't know
running Android apps.
They're running
in
Android
Chrome
apps on
OS.
Chrome. Favorite. Now, mind you, I already have Dropbox.
Is it a Chrome
or
extension? So he showed Evernote. He had Evernote on his phone, and it
The
was
exact same app
somehow
was here.
on his. Now, was that because he installed it as a Chrome extension?
I think there must be some kind of runtime Android on here
Right, there's gotta
that
be,
makes
right?
it run. But what it means is that I can put, again, the phone becomes the center of everything, so I can show on the TV or on my laptop Android. If I have an app that I like and I like the way it operates, I can now run it on my Chromebook. Now, it's Chromebook. It's not Chrome. It's not other operating systems. It's just this operating system. But they're properly proud of the Chromebook success.
So they showed Vine, which is not available on the Chromebook.
Right.
Right.
And it looked like it was the Vine. It was the aspect
I'm
ratio
wondering
of the
about,
phone
can I
screen.
finally get Microsoft's dear phone service, Skype?
Skype, too, would be one of them. Do you have to go to the Chrome store and install?
They weren't clear about that.
Yeah, they said that it's still early days. And of course, the Pixel I think is the only touchscreen.
No. There are other touch
There are
screens.
other-
Yes, there
are
are.
But you don't.
touchscreens.
We
The
talked about that. You
720p.
could use the trackpad to do touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
true.
would work. They showed Flipboard, which is also not on Chrome, I don't think.
Right.
Right, Flipboard, Evernote, and Vine. They showed it can show in a kind of
Yeah, so what this
tall,
does,
phone-shaped size.
it strengthens Chrome because you can get tons more apps on Chrome now. It strengthens the link between Android and Chrome, which was my point earlier, that they're really becoming much better integrated. And it says that mobile is preeminent uber alles.
So they were not at all clear about the mechanics, but am I gathering that the idea is you will then see an app in the Chrome? I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand either. Right? It sounds like so.
Will there be a separate app store for Chromebooks that is Android apps? Will
That's a good question because it said some of your favorite apps. So it didn't say all apps will suddenly run.
Right.
you do have to love the idea that you can unlock the Chromebook by getting near it with your
that's
Android
cool.
phone.
That's cool.
Because
That made
typing
me-
in my 820-character, no, it's 32-character Google password every time. It's
Well,
a real pain in
and I
the
always get
butt.
frustrated on my phone too when I want to get to my cards. I've got
Right.
it right. So
Yeah.
the fact that they're thinking that way, I think the authentication stuff they didn't push
Chrome
enough.
OS will also show notifications from your phone. But we use Push Bullet, something you recommended, and I really like.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
like it a
doing
lot.
that all the time on all of my devices.
There was at one point where Vijay said, "Oh yeah, I got a notification on my Chrome OS that my battery was running low, and it was such a delightful experience." And I
Delightful.
turned to Jeff and said, "That's never a delightful experience. It's never delightful to
your
hear that your
battery's
battery's
running
running out.
low."
I don't like what."
It's a Chrome extension that allows for the downloading of Android apps.
Okay.
Says
It looked-
Android Central.
It looked like it was running in a Hangouts-like window.
Yes.
On the screen.
Yes,
So
it
it sounds
did.
like it
But
was a
now,
Chrome extension.
Chromebooks are Intel, right? Or are they Android? ARM. Are they ARM or are they Intel? That's an Intel device,
think
isn't it?
I think it's Intel. There was a little robot dressed in an Intel
So the apps are going to have to run in virtual
hold on,
machine
hold on,
because
hold on.
these
I'm
are
wrong.
ARM apps.
Right.
I just referred to something where a geeky way to do it in 2012.
Oh. I
Never
remember that.
mind.
They're talking about
Never
BlueStacks, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we
sorry.
can do the BlueStacks is an emulator. So BlueStacks
Right.
lets you run Android apps on Windows
be
or
some
Mac.
sort of emulator.
It's going to be something like BlueStacks, I would think. But
I mean, unless
unclear.
it's casting from your phone, which is not. That
No,
that
no,
wasn't.
no,
It
no,
wasn't
no, no, no.
mirroring.
It was running.
It was running.
It was running.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an odd thing to spend. But here, your point about it
here's
was an
a
odd thing to
question.
spend time on.
If they made a version of Art that ran on Intel, Art's the runtime, right? Then you could take an APK and just run it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Except for different
Right. I mean, you
calls.
need the Android layer.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right.
There's going to have to be a wine-like a layer of Android calls. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, Jason Howell during the keynote was saying Android laptop, and he's like, "Oh, this is basically it, right?"
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
but with all the benefits of a Chromebook,
Right.
Which are many, by the way.
I know. I've come around,
I know.
For education.
You fricasseed that crow well, sir.
Anywhere you don't want to have your user be able to do anything, a Chromebook is an excellent choice.
I do everything. For more than a year now.
Great struggle.
More than no one
Are
is
you still using Cronut?
No, I gave that up.
What is it called? Not Cronut.
No, it's
Crouton.
Crouton.
Should have been.
No, because I couldn't get Netflix.
No Netflix on Crouton.
But now on
because you're a
Chrome, you
developer
can download movies and
Right.
shows. And it's a beautiful. More than a year, this has been my machine.
It's interesting that they use the Amazon sales rankings as their sort of pride around things. There was actually a lot of mention of other
They said
companies,
the Chromebooks
right? There was
represent the top 10.
Top 10.
Yeah, top 10 highest rated laptops on Amazon. And there was a lot of that, right? They talked about the Twitter DevRel group gave them access to the streaming API for them to show the Google Cloud Live stuff. There was a few mentions of Samsung contributing their Knox stuff to Android L.
Right.
There was the
They
mention
were
of
friendly.
Amazon. They were very
Twitter,
friendly.
Twitter. I mean, that was peace right there.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
while we're talking about other companies, let us have a moment to curse Verizon.
Now what?
Because when people bought the...
Oh, this is a bad one, and Google had to make this good.
Google had to make it good, and it wasn't Google's fault. Verizon,
when I spent $1,400 on my Pixel Chromebook, I got lifetime?
No, lifetime or 2 years. I forget. Lifetime.
Certain amount of
2 years. 2 years.
data from Verizon.
100 megs a month, not much, but it was you could when you're in a pinch, you got it.
And
then Verizon just started cutting it off in a year, saying "F you" to all of our customers because that's what we do. We're Verizon.
Wait a minute.
They just cut it off.
They
And
said
so
we're not
Google-
going to give you 2 years.
Yeah,
after
they just
all?
started stopping it, and customers didn't know. And suddenly their year comes up because it's about now for a lot of people, and they just stop. And so I know I'm shrieking.
What's wrong with them?
Well, a lot of things. And so then Google is giving out $150 gift certificates.
Well, that's going to cost them like $1,500.
Hey.
You mean every single person who bought a Chromebook will get $150?
Only the Chromebook LTE.
Oh. Like I said, it's going to
That's
cost them
$35.
thousands. Thousands they're going to be out.
Breaking chops, as usual, folks.
Seriously, how many people do you think they have
Not
to write
many.
a check
Not many.
to?
Yeah, no, it was easy to get together. But Verizon, what? So how many?
Well, what's
how
wrong
many,
with Verizon? I agree.
Well, a lot.
That's not nice.
Ah.
Not nice, Verizon. They did bury a lot of nuggets, and I have to say, I felt like there were crumbs. Things like, well, we bought Quick Office, so now you can
this is
use
big
Google
one.
Docs and edit
Native,
and save
Native-
natively.
Native
Docs,
Office. It was Native Office.
Native
It was
Office,
really a big
yeah,
deal.
Yeah, it felt like a.
They turned Microsoft into an API they just cut into.
They also said if you this was a little bit of a fudge. They said $10 for unlimited data for Google Drive if you use Google Drive for Business. What they didn't mention is that's only if 5 of you buy Google Drive for Business at $10
really?
each. Otherwise, if just one of you buys it, it's just a terabyte. But in fact, a terabyte is a lot of data.
Yeah.
They certainly are and have been undercutting the prices.
Well, that was two
online
angles in
storage.
terms of going after the work audience. One was being able to have a work partition on your phone, and two
That was the thanks to Knox by Samsung.
right. And then two was being able to use Docs. They added functionality
Office
to
Docs.
Drive,
Right.
In terms of Office and more security and storage, to try to encourage more companies. And the percentages, the number of colleges that have gone Google was really impressive.
It was high. The colleges and universities were the highest.
Really the
so
highest
they
by
broke
far.
out Fortune 500 colleges, universities, and startups. Now, if you had told me that, I would have said, well, obviously, the highest
right.
percentage of groups, those groups that have gone Google, I would have said startups. It wasn't. It was universities,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? And then
Henry's,
startups.
Colorado is Google.
It's Google.
Yeah.
We're trying to switch at CUNY.
Yeah. Are you?
Oh,
Well,
wow.
my Sarah Bartlett, my dean, growls at me every time she can't do edit trace or redlining, and now you
she's
can.
going to be happy.
I
Redlining.
tweeted
is
that. I
better.
said, the
Redlining.
boss is going to be happy.
there was a lot here that they, was fine, but they could have cut. They need a tougher editor.
They needed their cards to be prioritized.
This is, I think, where the structure of Google really hurts them because they're trying to keep everybody within an entrepreneurial spirit and the feeling of autonomy. But then what happens, and you could see this, it must have happened, is that the call went out. All right, who wants to present at I/O? Me. Okay, who? And then they did some sort of process.
Yeah.
Then what they got was mud.
So should we start on the list of what wasn't there, though?
Well, number one, I didn't see any Google Glass.
No.
I saw glass holes.
Lots of people wearing glass.
Lots
no
of people.
Googlers wearing glass.
Although they did update
But
Glass today. They have a new version of Glass that has 2 gigabytes of RAM. You're not going to get it.
I don't use 10 megabytes on my Glass because I don't use it.
But if I were an Explorer, I'd feel, well, you know what? When you became an Explorer, you understood this is a beta program.
Yes.
This is not going to be the final. So they've doubled the RAM. And you're not going to get it.
But would you so they just put them on sale in the UK. Would you invest in it now when they didn't brag about it, when they didn't do anything about it? No. Sorry. Nice people, nice, interesting technology, a lot of things done. I go back to what I said before. 3 functions that and I always said this. And I also said, this is to the iPhone this is to whatever follows what the Newton was to the iPhone.
Newton, yeah.
This is a Newton.
12 new apps, including Shazam, so you could say, okay, Glass, recognize this song.
I can pull out my phone and do it. I mean, but I say, okay, Glass.
A basketball training aid. You need to get a specially equipped basketball, and you throw it, and then you get the little feedback after each shot.
It went in. It didn't go in. I can tell that now. It never goes in.
You
I got
should
it.
have thrown it harder.
You gotta make sure you get the perfect arc.
Your
For the
release
swish.
is poorly
For the swish.
timed. Swish. Maybe it will say swish.
They should put that sensor in a golf ball and it will sell.
You know what?
They should go for the golf ball
And every
crowd
time you hit
versus
it,
the
it says,
basketball
"Ouch."
crowd. They've got more money to spend on Glass.
And you're more isolated on a golf course. Nobody's going to see you look like a dork.
Right.
You already do look like a dork because
I
what
think
you're
there are a
wearing.
lot of glass holes wearing tasseled shoes and glass out there on the
I can see
on
it.
the
I can
links.
see it. Yeah.
They
And
also
you get driving directions for your cart. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
also nothing about Google Plus.
Let's stay there for a second. I think
Last year did they talk about Google
Oh
Plus?
yeah.
Yeah, we were very excited. I remember.
Yeah, Vic was talking. I think. Yeah. Oh
And,
yeah.
and
there was
Bradley
lots of
Horowitz
Plus.
was there, and I remember saying to him,
We saw
they-
Bradley last night on the street.
They did events, and I mean, there was a lot of Is that
There
when they redesigned the app?
Yep, there was not a
word about it.
Not a syllable. And I've been arguing that I'm one of the ones who holds out. I still like Google Plus, and people make fun of me and all that. But now I'm
we
thinking,
all still use it here. I would say in the Brick House, it's our #1 social network by far.
One thing I heard from somebody who talked to a Googler that they're going to start splitting up Google Plus. And this is fourth hand, so who knows? But the argument is that if you look at what you can do with photos in Google Plus, it's incredible.
It is.
Nobody knows it because it's inside
buried.
Google Plus.
It's
so if they
buried.
make that, I made this point on the show a couple of weeks ago. Zuckerberg talking about breaking up the Big Blue app. He doesn't care if you're using WhatsApp. Use WhatsApp. It's fine. I own it now. He's not trying to integrate it into everything. Google does not have one big portal app you use. It has an underlying user database across a bunch of different functions. So they broke that rule when it came to Google Plus. I think Google Plus is an underlying database of relationships that brings relevance to you across many different functions. And if you want to do photos now, then do a great photo function. If you want to talk to people who are on Google Plus, go do that.
Right.
No
Photos,
mention of-
Hangouts, go do that.
Well, that's
photos and Hangouts are great, and
Yeah.
those are the aspects of Google Plus that I use every day. But I wouldn't say that I use Google Plus. I mean, it's really it's a marketing problem, right? You say Google Plus and people think you're talking about the social network,
Right.
But it's really an umbrella to a ton of different products.
Yeah, so I think
even
they've
just
got
profiles and sign in to YouTube to comment, right? I mean,
just because they didn't mention it at a developer event does not mean they're not using
Well,
it.
they know there's a Kremlinology, though.
Well,
They know that. I mean,
They're
they mentioned Nexus phones. They didn't show any new Nexus phones. They didn't develop any Nexus phones. They mentioned it. They didn't mention Glass. They didn't mention Google Plus.
that's true. They didn't
And
say
what
Nexus.
we're the Kremlinologists.
right. Well,
And so what else was not there?
yeah, what else was not
So
there?
Nexus, voice,
Search.
Google
Voice.
Plus.
They didn't mention
Hangouts.
search. Can I
Search?
just point out, last year, remember they did that great search thing and search for
that's
the
true.
Golden Gate Bridge?
There were search functions on TV, but
They
that's
showed,
right.
they showed the material design and the search interface on.
But they didn't enhance the functionality of search in any way.
Right, but they did do the museum and how do I get there? So there was
showing
a
them
last year.
reinforcement
Really how
of the
search is being
conversational
used
search.
in a modern.
Right. They showed
environment.
links to your apps in Android, right?
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Okay.
an open table
What else was
link would
missing,
say
chat
open this
room?
app.
That's cool.
So
Actually, really liked that.
Yeah,
the
I like that too.
inter-process communication was great.
search when you search for the tour in Google Earth. If you search for something that you'd done in an app,
Oh, right.
and it said
Right,
here's
right,
the
right,
tour,
right,
so
right.
that's
That's true.
That's,
That's true.
But that
Okay.
was search on the phone, right? That
Yeah.
wasn't actually Google search. I like that.
Didn't mention ads in any way. AdWords, AdSense.
No.
They
No phones or
normally
tablets, nothing in terms of making them or anything new coming, or
right?
which we've really been wondering about.
Yeah, no new Chromebooks or
No new Chromebook.
Chrome boxes.
Yeah, hardware was really scant.
It was.
Yeah, and all this talk yesterday. Well, part of the talk yesterday was that Nest is taking over much of the hardware.
Well, in
Tony's
fact,
going to take most.
yeah, no mention of Nexus phones or
Nest.
tablets
Or Nest.
or Nest,
Nest,
even.
Yeah.
And even they have a home thing.
when
some
Nest,
examples about Nest.
when Google
nothing.
bought Dropcam, really it was Nest that bought Dropcam, and that's how it was pitched. Even though Google is a
It's
wholly
Google's
owned,
money,
Nest
yeah.
is a wholly owned subsidiary of Google. So maybe that's interesting. Nest, Tony Fadell would be the guy to run your hardware program, I guess. No mention of robots.
Well, there was, but from the protester.
Only from the protester. Now, is there another keynote tomorrow? I don't think there is. In the past,
There
they've
is not.
split it up into two. The
There is
rest of Google I/O, much like WWDC, is developer stuff,
sessions. Yep.
sessions.
and some blue sky, wacky, wonderful things about life and computers and
And
things.
Didn't
there are
mention Gmail
announcements.
at all, or Gmail encryption.
No, that was the other thing. I thought that if Larry had come to talk, which would have been 5 hours longer, the question I wanted to ask was about security. And
Well, they addressed it a little bit with the enterprise stuff, right? The encryption both ways.
Separating your personal stuff on your phone from your business stuff.
Right.
but that's
right.
not against NSA kind of security.
And they showed the Gmail interface redesign, but no, they didn't. They really didn't talk about, with the exception of the Knox stuff and the enterprise stuff, they didn't talk about security too much. Now, this is the part I think where you cut off. They went to the Google Cloud Platform stuff, which was pretty heavy developer. Yeah, it was a kind of a snoozer even for
I
me,
feel
and
bad
I'm a
saying that
developer.
because it is a developer conference, so
No,
it's okay.
but it was. I mean, that was hour 3 at that point, and but then the Google Play, the woman from Google Play got up and talked about a Purify. She announced the acquisition.
They acquired, what is a Purify?
A Purify is an app that helps you test your Android apps across a bunch of different devices. So do real world testing. So it's basically helping developers deal with the fragmentation issue and not having a amass a collection of every size screen and variety of device. She mentioned Google Fit, which I was surprised that they didn't talk about during the Android Wear section,
Yeah.
but okay. So it's a single set of APIs to manage fitness data, and it blends data from multiple apps and devices. And we saw a few examples. I think that Noom was the app. That was a weight loss app that was up on screen. Then that connects to your Y things. You say Y things or We things? The scale.
I
the
say
wireless,
Y
the
things, but I don't
yeah.
know what the right pronunciation.
Nike Fuel is going to be integrating with Google Fit.
Yeah.
Saw
And just as
Runkeeper.
just as Nike gives up its devices by
Yeah,
say reverse, I don't understand that.
I thought the Nike Plus
Fuel,
was,
fuel
I
is
don't-
an odd. It's a meaningless currency. What it tries to do, fuel tries to bring all activity into one kind of point structure. Which so does this. So does the Misfit. Whatchamacallit?
yeah, what's that thing again?
Oh, it's the Misfit.
It's the Fitbit.
No.
No.
I lost my Fitbit.
Swift. What
This
is it?
It's called Misfit.
I like it because that
it
thing
looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it,
Yeah.
and it looks like you're an Egyptian god or something.
Is it masculine enough? You think?
It's masculine, very, very masculine.
Shouldn't carry a merce though with it.
We're not going to do a change log, I guess. I mean, there's nothing
This is
else.
the
This is the
change
change
log.
log.
Yeah, this is the change
These are
log.
the change logs.
I don't think we have any,
Yeah, I know.
Here's a list on the rundown of things that were not
Things
brought
that
up.
were not. 10 of them from Read Write Web. 10 things Google did not talk about at Google I/O.
Android Silver.
Silver. So they didn't mention Nexus, but they didn't mention anything else in terms of Google devices.
Android One was the device mentioned,
yeah.
right? The low
Right.
power, right? That was
But
the device.
they're not even going to make that. That's just a platform for
Yeah.
others who are going to make it.
Right.
They didn't mention Android Nearby, which is a proximity service from Google that was rumored to be announced at I/O, kind of like iBeacon, Glass, Nexus, Project Aura, and Project Tango.
Project Tango.
Project
Project
Tango,
Aura.
we dashed out of there to get here, but there's a booth for
I'm sure
Tango.
there's a booth, and I'm sure there's going to be some Aura. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave away some Aura kits. Because
Aura is the Motorola
is the-
research project that was
yeah.
a modular phone.
yeah.
Tango is the mobile 3D machine vision project. No
But in
updates
the individual developer session, sometimes they give
Yeah.
out little kits just to the
Yeah.
people who are in that one session.
Sure.
If you're lucky enough to.
Yeah. Chrome OS updates, Nest, and Android Home. We thought there would be a lot more mention of Home.
Yeah, and they had a couch. I thought it was
Home and
Yeah,
Health.
they had a couch up on stage, and we
Yeah.
thought, oh, this is felt like a Nexus Q demo throwback.
Last year, they gave us Android Studio. They didn't really mention that, although they had a lot of developer tools that worked with Studio, including, real-time online debugging, which is pretty cool. And Google Plus. Yeah, so that's pretty much what they didn't say. But I didn't feel like it was missing because I didn't feel like this was in any attempt to make a state of the world address.
Right.
And the fact that Larry Page
No Larry
didn't show
there.
up, he was there in the front row. We saw a picture of him.
Oh,
but-
I didn't. Have no
yeah,
idea
he was there, but didn't say anything as he did last year. Maybe wisely, he probably was advised by people, don't mention the island that you want to be on. And, can't we all just get along? That just didn't play too well. But I think having the CEO speak is important. And that's one thing you see at all the other companies' events. The CEO does speak, and kind of sets the tone. And I think he's missing. I think Larry is very shy and very hands off. Maybe not in one-to-one settings, but in a setting like this.
Right.
I think that this was a year of them better developing their platforms and bringing them together and making sense of them and revealing and enforcing principles of design.
Our show today brought to you by our friends at Hover.com. One of the things Google announced is that they're going to become a domain registrar. But there's some weird little things in there that you may think, I can do better. For one of the things they said is, and we'll give you Whois privacy as part of the price. Well, so does Hover.com. They said you have email redirection. Yes, so does Hover.com. In fact, everything that Google offers, Hover offers without any limits. Google, for some reason, said you have a limited number of DNS requests per year. I don't know what that number means. I don't know if it's a lot or a little, but why even have to worry about that? And do you really want to put all your eggs in the Google basket? Hover is great. Domain name management, just like everybody else, they're all registered with ICANN. They're official domain registrars, but you get great tools that make it easy to manage your domains. You have a simple process of registering a domain. Doesn't take any time at all. You don't have a lot of clicking. You get Whois privacy. They've got all the big extensions, just like everybody else, .com, .net, country codes. They also have some really great new extensions like the .club, which I love. They also have the best customer support around. Now, I don't know what kind of customer support you get from Google, but it's not from a Python script. Let's put it that way. When you call Hover.com during business hours, you will get no wait, no hold, no transfer phone service. A representative is there to help you. If you want, they will move your existing domains over to Hover.com. Their concierge domain movement, that's great. In fact, you renew your domains for just $10 a year, or $10 to move the domains. That gives you an additional year, plus Whois privacy, plus a lot of other great benefits. Hover is fabulous. I think you're going to love it. All my domain names are registered at Hover. They now offer volume discounts, too. When you renew numerous domains, 10 or more, you get a discount. I have so many domains, so that's going to save me a lot of money. The more domains you have, the less you have to pay. If you're one of those people, as I am, who registers domain names kind of just whenever I think of it, because why not?
Do you have any idea how many you have?
I can go to Hover.com. It looks like 20 or 30. I mean, it's a lot. That's the other thing. I can quickly see at Hover.com. I can manage them. I can move them around. It really is the best way to do it. The valet transfer service, awesome. For free, Hover will take care of the entire process, let you know when your domains are settled into your Hover account. They'll even transfer the DNS settings. Nobody does this. In every other case, you have to figure out what your DNS settings are, change them, go over to Hover, change. Nope, they'll do it no matter how many domain names you have at no additional cost. That is great.
That's great.
Hover.com. I love them. You will too. By the way, use the offer code TWIG6. You get 10% off your first purchase. Hover, HOVER.com. Maybe you don't have a tip or looks like you do. You got something you want to mention?
I do. I'm recycling content a little bit. We talked about this on Android a couple episodes ago, but today at the keynote, they talked about how in Android L, you're going to get your notifications on your lock screen. They're going to look really pretty, so you're not going to have to unlock your phone and swipe down your shade. Well, I'm doing something similar right now with an app called Dynamic Notifications for Android. Yeah, it'll put notifications of your choice, so I can say, hey, just show me, Slack and Trello and Hangouts and nothing else. It'll put it right in your lock screen. So when you're, you can, if you have your phone out, you're doing something else, you can just glance down at it and see your notifications. And you can, so there's a lock screen widget. You can also affix a widget to your home screen that's there with your notifications, so you don't have to mess with the shade. And there's a bunch of options here, custom screen timeouts, and you can, do transparency and select themes. Really great app. Love it. Free with in-app purchases for some premium features. But it's really cool. So if you can't wait for the Android L notification update, you can kind of get some of it. Not quite as pretty as L is going to be, but it might hold you over until the release. So that's Dynamic Notifications.
Are you going to download the L stuff? I guess they're going to give you images for the Nexus 5 and the Nexus 7 this week.
Yeah.
Will you install it? Do you have an old Nexus 5 line?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly have a Nexus 7 laying around that I would install it on. I might not install it on my daily driver phone, just because it is a preview. But yeah, for sure, I want to
put it on my 5 and Nexus 5. Yeah. Maybe I'll put it on there. Be fun to play with.
Yeah.
I usually stay away from beta. What do they? Do you have to be? You have to be a developer? Do you have to pay any money? Do you have to say I won't ever speak of this? I shall not speak of this thing we are doing together.
That's a good question. They generally don't.
Pretty open about it.
Yeah, they're very. I mean, unlike Apple, where you have to be the developer program, it's $100 a year or whatever. Android, it's usually just a straight up download.
Good. Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah.
Jeff, you have, I'm sure, a number.
I do. I decided.
How many cardboard boxes did Google give away?
20% of them went to women.
There's the number.
20%.
Yeah.
Gina says they're bragging about that. It's a step. It's an improvement. It's not far enough. But we saw the real future. I just put on the rundown. You saw it earlier, but for people who didn't see it, the video of the girl middle school coders was a tear in the eye moment.
Aww.
Jeff looked at me and I was kind of like, I'm all right.
I was too. I was the same way. I was the same way. It's on under the number on the rundown.
All right, we'll pull it up.
Really quite amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch a little video. Do you have audio?
They have to live the darkness every
Oh, they were all in the front row
They
at
were.
the.
We were like, why not create something that will actually make a difference?
Why does this sound so bad?
GPS and a location sensor, so that way you can have a specific port for each.
I feel like you're not getting the. Oh, I see. This is a video from the conference. Somebody
was that it?
taped the conference.
So
if you mess up one little tiny thing, it can mess up the whole app.
That's really great. Don't you love that?
To him, but to many others that will eventually use this app.
They care about me. That's why they made this app happen.
So they made an app for him.
They made
him
it
to get around the
navigate
school.
so he can get the
Oh
class.
my God.
So he can find his way around the class.
Okay, now I am for class.
Is
a
it?
killer.
6 girls coded this in middle school.
Yeah.
It is the coolest thing on earth.
So I apologize for the quality. This is actually a screen cap from the event, but yeah, you can see Sundar Pichai coming back on stage. But,
My favorite part is when you say, "Yeah, you mess up some of the code and the whole thing just breaks."
I hate it when that
I hate it
happens.
when that happens. I know it's
Isn't
the
that
worst.
awesome?
It just all breaks.
Now I feel really pathetic with my my app pick. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Where's the? I mean, you make them cry out here or not?
This is not going to make you cry unless it's tears of joy. So I use the GoPro, as I was mentioning, zip lining, and so the easiest way to use the GoPro is to install the GoPro app on your Android device. I use it on all my devices. It's free. It lets you control it. You connect right to the camera. You get a preview. It's just so great. But I don't know when they added this. There's a new feature though that I love. In the settings, you can use the GoPro image of the day as your wallpaper on your Android phone. So you get new wallpaper every single day, and it's always some cool GoPro image. Today's image is a middle school soccer field, And it actually works out really nicely as a background. You can kind of see it through the transparency here. There's a goalie stopping a kick. But these are always gorgeous images. Yesterday it was an aquarium. And a free and easy way. You don't even have to have a GoPro camera. Just download the app and turn on the image of the day. And every day you'll get an image from the GoPro.
That reminds me, the thing that bored me most today.
What was that?
Was ambient pictures on your TV.
I like that.
Visual music for life.
Yeah.
I just found that unbearable.
I'm just looking for another way to leave my TV on.
Oh, yeah, more power consumption, more, jeez.
Wait, it was images from your own device.
It's your picture.
Yeah, who cares?
It's got the weather.
No. I can see the real pet right there, shedding all over the place.
The biggest picture frame, the best picture frame in your house, Jeff. What, you didn't like that line?
No. I thought that was just ridiculous. That was Google. That was trying too hard.
Well, they got this
grandparents are going to love this feature.
Oh, yeah. How many remote picture frames have we bought the grandparents that never get filled in?
I refuse to buy another one of those.
I just
can't.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll rig up the tablet, but I'm not buying another one of those stupid picture frames.
Well, now you can just get them a
Now you just
$35
get the
Chromecast.
Yeah.
Simple enough. Apparently, Google Play Services is now rolling out. I just checked. I'm not getting it, but 5.0 of Play Services will be rolling out with new security tools, Android Wear support.
So I got the 444 update just now. I didn't put it in, but it's there.
On your Nexus 5, 444.
444.
And look for Google Play Services 5. It should make its way to all devices over the next few days. This is not Google Play Store.
Right.
This is that little puzzle piece of services. But it's actually more important than the store because it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. It's going to support Android wearables, which means your watches, which you get tomorrow, will work. That's why they had to push it out. Google Cast adds closed caption support from Chromecast. There's a new Save to Wallet button to save offers from your app to your wallet. Great. Improved in-app purchase ads. Forget it. Don't get it. It's terrible. Unless you got to watch. Why? And then there's a few more things. App indexing API. Anyway, these are always big, and you don't really have much of a choice, so enjoy it.
It will be foisted upon you.
It's going to be forced on you whether you want it or not. Hey, it's so nice to have Jeff and Gina here. I
It
feel
is.
like
Yeah,
we're
it's
just
great to be
blessed
here.
because this is the
Family
second time in a
reunion.
month. So just come back every other week. Why don't you?
Yeah, we'll just fly out.
That's fine.
Why don't you?
I'll stay over.
Let me ask you, are you glad you came out for I.O.?
Definitely.
Wasn't a
I
waste
am.
of time?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm really excited to be here. And I'll admit, part of it is that I'm really excited about that watch.
And you,
I
and
wanna
you
pick
do
up my
get
watch.
something. You get a watch.
Which
I
you
do,
could have
I
bought
do.
for less than the airfare, but fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
got a
mean,
monocle. How
certainly.
about that?
Yeah, I've been wanting to see what that is.
Well, I was certainly happy to be here today and to be at All About Android last night, and I got to chat.
That
with
was nice.
Googlers And
it was good to see you. And
Yeah.
live on All About Android. If you haven't seen the show yet,
I also just enjoy being there tomorrow, and I'll go to some sessions and understand what I can understand, but also just running into Googlers and talking to them.
That's where the magic
That's where
happens.
the-
You
yeah.
always get the stories, the good stories, from the Googlers.
right?
But the great thing, Leo, is we hit us all crazy, is just because of you, because of the magic of Leo. People, can we take your picture? Oh,
Yeah, we got
Jeff
stopped
and
three
Gina.
times
It
on the
was
way
great.
out
It's
today.
really just
I'm just on the way out of Moscone today.
that's-
People wanted to take
so
our picture.
wonderful.
It was really nice.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled to be here.
All right.
It wasn't a waste of time.
No.
That's 93 million selfies. What happens tomorrow and the next day at I.O. is really
Just
for
tomorrow.
developers. It's just tomorrow. It's seminars. It's
Developer
workshops.
sessions,
sample of
workshops,
these things here.
code-ins. There's
Usually,
the
noise
floor is open.
does not emerge. Not significant news emerges from this.
There will be some low-level announcements that got cut out of the clarifications that didn't come out of the keynote. People will write up some, things that they learned, and sometimes there are, developer kits given out for the lesser projects, like maybe Tango, maybe Ara. I wouldn't be surprised if we heard a little bit more about Tango and Ara.
Containerizing the cloud with Docker, designing for wearables, grow your app with Google Identity.
That's a Google Plus
A
platform.
3D tablet, an Oscar, and a little cache.
A 3D tablet. Okay, so that's Tango.
Cross-platform interaction design, instant buy everywhere.
Google Wallet.
The dawn of fast data, the art of runtime.
That's art.
Upgrading the engine mid-flight.
But in every case, this is art or whatever for people who are developing.
They're
apps.
deep dives into these things.
Nest
right.
for developers.
Yeah.
So they are gonna talk about Nest, but it's gonna be stuff that's there. It wasn't keynote.
Robotics in a New World with a protester, no doubt. There were also people arrested there on Google in Star Trek plastic outfits.
Stormtroopers.
We call those stormtroopers.
Thank you. I was aged.
Star Wars plastics. These are not the Star Wars plastics you were looking for.
Don't get old, people. Don't get old.
I keep seeing people with Star Wars plastic outfits. You knock it off.
You know what the problem is? It's brain latency.
It's true.
Right? It just takes time.
It's latency, that's all.
It's like the
Designed
flicker
for
in the
Google
video.
Cast. And on and on and on it goes.
Well, you guys got to go to some of those just to find out what the hell Google Cast is. And
DevOps power tools. I'll be there.
How about debugging Dart apps with WebStorm? That's going on right now. I'm sorry we missed that.
That's going to be
3
some
days
heavy.
of building useless stuff, the makings of the world's craziest makers conference. What did you think, speaking of which, of the bowling ball, the trebuchet,
the Rube Goldberg
It
machine?
made the geeks happy.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something for people to look at while the countdown was,
My gag
This is
was there was
Google
this
being
huge mechanical
Google.
thing over in the corner, and I said, "Oh, the algorithm."
That's how it works. There is an Ignite event. I think Kevin Marks is going to that.
Right, that's what Kevin was speaking at that.
4
That's why.
o'clock this afternoon. If you run, you can get back to it. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Gina. Thanks to all of you for watching. We do This Week in Google each and every week, even without Google I/O, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC. On Twit, you can watch live. I'd like it if you do. It's great because we see the chat room and the back and forth of the chat room. But if you can't, we have on-demand audio and video available from twit.tv/twig or on all the platforms where you could get this kind of stuff. Our apps, of course, available on Android, on iOS, even Windows Phone and BlackBerry. Just search for Twit. They're not our apps. They're third-party developers, but they do a great job, and I really am grateful to them for that. You can also use Stitcher, things like that, or iTunes, or whatever you use. Dogcatcher, Instacast, all of that. A Pocket Cast. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week on Twig. Bye-bye.